do. It's season 2, it's in 30, season 2. Good evening, good evening. Where's my crib community? Where are my people at? Where are my people at? Crib community, we are live. What's up, Oopala? How you doing? I mean, on the nose, 8:31. What's up, Sarah? I see someone that says, Livy Yoga, what's going on? What's going on? How you doing? What's up, Theta Rose? Hey, everybody. I got a little nervous. It was like 8:15. I did my test. Nobody was there. Y'all usually like chomping at the bit, but you're here in full effect. Ready for season. Hey, Stacy. Hi, Christine. Hi, Dominique. What's going on? What's going on, Janelle? What's up, Amanda? How are you? What's up, Megan? So good to see you all. So good to see you all. Live and in person for season 2 finale. Can you believe it? It just flew by. I am so excited to see you all tonight. Tonight, as I always do to wrap up the season, and in true to form, we are going to have, what's going on, Jody? A candid conversation with just me speaking off the dome here to things that matter the most in our world today. So let's get into it. But before I start, I've got to set you all off in the right mood. I see you, Lance. How are you?
What to say to you now in the soft afternoon air as you hold us all in a single death. I say, where is your fire? I say, where is your fire? You got to find it and pass it on. You got to find it and pass it on from you to me, from me to her, from her to him, from the son to the father, from the brother to the sister, from the daughter to the mother, from the mother to the child. I say, where is your fire? I say, where is your fire? Can't you smell it coming out of our past? The fire of living, not dying. The fire of loving, not killing. The fire of blackness, not gangster shadows. Where is our beautiful fire that gave light to the world? The fire of pyramids, the fire that burned through the holes of slave ships and made us breathe. The fire that made guts into chitlins. The fire that took rhythms and made jazz. The fire of sit-ins and marches that made us jump boundaries and barriers. The fire that took street talk and sounds and made righteous Imhotep rap. Where is your fire? The torch of life, full of Nzinga and Nat Turner and Garvey and Du Bois and Fannie Lou Hamer and Martin and Malcolm and Mandela. Sister, brother, come, catch your fire, don't kill, hold your fire, don't kill, learn your fire, don't kill, be the fire, don't kill, catch the fire, and burn with eyes that see our souls walking, singing, yeah, building, laughing, learning, yes, loving, yes, teaching, being, hey, young brother, hey, young sister, here is my hand, catch the fire and live.
Where is your fire? For those of you who aren't aware, that is a poem from Sonia Sanchez, Catch the Fire. And I thought rather than delve into my musical prose, the poetic prose was most appropriate for tonight's episode, tonight's season finale for season 2, Unfinished Business. But I'll circle back in a moment. Welcome Crib community. Welcome to the room. Come on in the room. When you come on in the room, come on in and hit share. I see my Aunt Ingrid, I want to give a shout out. I saw Bobby Holmes. I saw so many people, and I so very much thank you for joining us this evening. For those of you newly joining us, 30 at 8:30 is brought to you by the Center for Research Innovation for Black Survivors of Homicide Victims, aka the Crib. So tonight, season 2 finale, Unfinished Business. Again, these are just thoughts that I've jotted down today, just right off the dome, that I thought I'd share with you this evening as we hold the space to talk about structural inequities, to talk about COVID-19, to talk about structural violence that impacts some of our most vulnerable. When I reflect on season 2, where is the fire? Our guests brought the fire. A perfect culmination, if you will, of both researchers and practitioners talking to us about how they diligently go about working with and for community, putting community front and center in all that they do. All that they do. Dr. Natisha Massaquoi started us off with talking about trauma, in particular talking about the social movements that we're seeing, and asking us, challenging us to understand that what we're seeing is a normal response to that which is abnormal. Abnormalities existing at the root of structural racism, structural inequality, right? Beautiful, I've been citing her all week. Then we talked to Dr. Desmond Patton, who really talked about the digital divide and how there's not much of a divide if we just take a listening ear to the youth that are using these platforms to be able to connect with one another, particularly during these times when we are social distancing, to hold the space so that they can begin to talk about their grief, their anger, their rage, and their disappointment at the societal ills and the structure of society and the weight of that on their communities. We talked to Kendra Vandewater, who, Philly, what's up? If you're on the line, I see you and I appreciate you, who is boots on the ground, working with youth, running voting registration, feeding our communities, but also uplifting and letting us know that the children, the youth are watching. I'm forgetting all of our guests, but Monica Forrester, talking about the importance of Black trans women who disproportionately are murdered and going missing. And what was so important is just simply holding the space so that they can be seen, they can be heard. This whole notion of seeing, being, and doing for one another. We also talked to my sister, Dr. Nadine Finnegan-Carr, who brought the fire, regarding human trafficking, and again, the disproportionate impact of human trafficking on Black and Indigenous communities. In particular, bringing up beautiful gems about how we are living in multiple pandemics, i.e. sendemics. I was simply awestruck. And then Assistant Superintendent Stacy Clark, who candidly spoke about the impact of the murder of George Floyd on herself, her family, and how she goes about the day-to-day business of working with and for community while wearing the police uniform. How she stands strong and tall as one of 5 Black senior police officers in an entire country of Canada. So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you're inspired, but I certainly am. And so tonight I want to springboard where they landed in each of their episodes and just leave a couple of gems from myself. So, where do I begin? I recently had a birthday. I had a birthday a couple weeks ago. And the days that led up to my birthday, I'll just say it. I was up in my feelings. I was moping. We're in the middle of COVID. I had plans, people. I had plans. So I was moping. I was just feeling down and out. The morning of my birthday, I lay in bed and I was meditating, and as I meditated, I thought, stop. Just stop. You have the luxury of breathing. You have the luxury of opening your eyes. Be grateful. Be grateful for that. And so I shifted my energy. And it turns out that shift in energy brought about so many beautiful things that had I not shifted my energy, shifted my perspective, shifted my vantage point, I would not have been able to receive them. My best friend Penny, who's going to hate that I actually just named her on this live because she's here and I don't care. I love her. She arranged an epic birthday party, and without going into detail. But what she did outside of all of the material things is that she held the space for me. She held the space that I don't think we often occupy. She held the space that allowed me to be able to reflect upon how so many people had such a beautiful impact on my life. I am because you are. She allowed me to do that. She created that space. But she also created this beautiful space where I had a front row seat to better begin to understand how I impacted others. The reason that I uplift that into tonight's conversation regarding unfinished business is I want to invite you all to hold that same sacred space. We are living in unprecedented times where things have slowed, some things have even stopped. And this fundamental shift allowed me to think about things differently. How are we seeing one another? How are we being towards one another? And in how long are we staying in the being that allows us to inform the doing of our actions? If we don't take a moment to see our reflection in one another, we won't be able to be better informed on how to act. And so I am so very grateful for this gift, this monumental moment of reflection. And I invite you to do the same. And no, you can't have her. She's my friend. You can't have her. Anyway, I digress. The other thing I wanted to uplift in today's conversation is something a friend of mine, Victoria Stubbs, said in a text message. Several of my friends and I'm in several different text messages streams, and we talk about how we often check in with one another, particularly now. How are you doing? What's going on? And many of us are commenting and responding with, I'm fatigued, I'm tired, I feel like I'm walking in quicksand. I can't catch my breath. It's so hard to even just get through emails. How am I supposed to teach? I can't do another Zoom call. All of these responses. And my friend Victoria shared with me this excerpt from a conversation a psychologist was having with one of her patients that was showing symptoms of fatigue during these multiple pandemics. About mental fatigue, compromised mental health, etc. And the psychologist shared with the patient that she had been operating on surge capacity, a set of adaptations that humans can draw on in acutely stressful situations. But even surge capacity has its limits. When it's depleted, it has to be renewed. But what happens when you struggle to renew it? Because the emergency phase has now become chronic. This excerpt really got me thinking deeply. It got me thinking deeply about our vulnerable communities, particularly those that reside from Black and Brown communities. What happens to Black and Brown communities who have always lived at a heightened state of emergency when it comes to structural racism, homicide, compounded by the disproportionate impact of COVID-19? What happens when their surge capacity was already reached before COVID-19 and now is pulsating at a depreciated level? I've come to the conclusion that we must be proactive rather than reactive in what we say, and most importantly, in what we do. We cannot afford to wait for the next social justice protest. Instead, perhaps we might consider the following. Developing tools of measurement designed to assess the impact of the confluence of these multiple pandemics. Again, shout out to Dr. Nadine Finnegan-Carr, sendemics. Perhaps we now, with the same passion and commitment that we are making toward finding a vaccine, we begin to think innovatively about how we can begin to meet the mental health needs of those who do not have the luxury of Zooming with their therapist. Perhaps now, with the world watching, we reimagine what policing for and with communities should look like. Robin Maynard said, "We can't take a knee while tightening the noose." So we must begin to reimagine how we might begin to meet the needs of our most vulnerable communities. Where is your fire? We have unfinished business, people. Unfinished business. In our conversations this season, I also began to deeply reflect upon the dismissive maltreatment of Black women. Black women are consistently devalued. I can paint a picture of many examples, but let's bring some of the more recent ones to the forefront. Breonna Taylor, the verdict. The verdict, where only one police officer was charged, not for murdering Breonna Taylor, but for wanton endangerment, for firing into a neighbor's apartment, into walls, but not into her body. I think about Joyce Ekwon, I hope I pronounced that correctly, a 37-year-old Indigenous Canadian woman who began experiencing stomach pains, so she checked herself into a hospital in Quebec. But she did not get the help she needed. Instead, hospital staff repeatedly chastised her with racial slurs, stating that she was stupid, only good for sex, and that she would be better off dead. Or I think about the murder of Philadelphia resident Black trans woman Dominique Bells, a transgendered woman whose murder remains unsolved, like so many others before and after her. The repeated dismissive maltreatment of Black women highlights the long-standing history of our racialized disposability, only being of value when we are cooking, cleaning, or caring for other people's children. We must do better. We must do better. And we can be so much better. Where is your fire? We have unfinished business to do. I keep thinking about this whole idea of how we've gone about talking about the impact of COVID-19 and how many times we repeatedly talk about the connectedness, that we're all in this together. As we move forward, Crib community, as a collective, as a unified force to be reckoned with, I want us to think about that same mindset, understanding that justice denied for one is injustice denied for all. I was recently on the CBC Metro Morning Radio, and the host wanted me to comment on the fact that the person who holds office, presidential office in the US, I refer to as Voldemort, other people refer to him by his name, Harry Potter fans will get that, asked me to comment on his repeated denial of white supremacy. And I basically said that this is not the first time that we've seen this. It's not the first time we've heard this. And so what becomes critical is how will we respond? I cited a quote from my grandmother who she used, I don't think it's her that created the quote, but she said, when show you who they are. Believe them. And I added to her quote and said, when people tell you who they are and still remain in positions of power, we must act. Where is your fire? So, Crib community, I challenge you, when you see something, say something. In many spaces and places, the voices of people who look like me are not valued, are not heard, are not considered, are not amplified. Where is your fire? And how will you use it to ignite the flame? Finally, I want to let you know that I recognize that this is some next level stuff. Let's call the thing a thing. Y'all, this is some, is month 8? Is it 6? It is Wednesday. It's Wednesday, 30. But this is some next level stuff. I get it. It's impacting us all in similar and yet very different ways. I get it. So give yourselves some respite. Ask for help when you think you need it, and even when you don't. And then after that, I need you to get back in the game. Because in fact, many of us haven't stopped playing. So I want you to, again, ask yourself, have you had those 9 conversations? Those 9 conversations, gut-wrenching, difficult, challenging conversations about anti-Black racism, about the impact of white supremacy on those you love, those you work with, those you work for. Have you had those conversations? Ask yourself, what materials have you read or listened to that have advanced or furthered your understanding of anti-Black racism? Ask yourself, how are you engaged in holding government officials accountable for addressing issues of anti-Black racism? Two seasons of the proliferation of such profoundly eloquent beings. I am so grateful to have facilitated or been privy to their words of wisdom that they shared with us, the Crib community. But I don't want us to forget them. 8 minutes. 8 minutes and 46 seconds. It seems like a lifetime ago, right? And yet for so many, it was just yesterday. Where is your fire? Crib community, we've got unfinished business. So let's get back to work. So many lives are depending on it. Thank you, crib community. I love you. I love you, and thank you. Thank you for watching. What? Production, I'm on live. I'm still on. You want me to say what? Hold on. It was a nice crescendo ending, and you want me to, oh, okay. Okay, all right. Production wants me to let you know that we'll be back for season 3. Woo woo! 3. Don't know the date and time, but as long as you show up, I'ma show out. So keep tuning in. We will be back for season 3. I also want you all to continue to engage with us via Twitter and Instagram because we've got some gems coming up for you next month. Stay tuned. Some real talk about fire, talk about where is the fire. We are bringing it next month, and we will continue to do the same in season 3. I thank you, crib community. I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. As always, from our crib to yours, stay safe and keep well. Good night.